Oh, hello! Fancy seeing you. No, we're not doing this fake out. I knew you were there. I pressed record. Welcome back, one and all, to The Library is Open. So I hope you brought your library cards, my darling. Library cards, my darlings. This is my third vlog entry that I'm filming in the same outfit. We're doing what we call content stacking today, because I got a busy couple of weeks coming up work-wise. So I thought, well, you know what? I won't deprive the lovely folk what come to the library of content. I'll record a load on one day when I've got a chance. So that's what I'm doing. Forgot to mention in the previous ones, I am wearing official Vegan Queens merch, which is available and always linked in the description from Spring. If you can, do my Asma and Gemini a good turn. If you don't know who they are, then you should go check out the description below and find those lovely vegan queens. They do what they say on the tin. Somebody asked me once on Twitter, it was attempting to be an insult. He said, what is a vegan queen? I said, well, they're a vegan who's a queen. Kind of speaks for itself, really, doesn't it? You know, what are people? Who are they? So today's episode, or rather today's vlog, I should say, is a reading vlog. And we're back in the bathroom because those of you who know me fairly well will know that I often like to vlog from the bathroom for several reasons. One of not just proximity to a sink, but it has the best light in the house, really. It's been a funny old day weather-wise today. We've had snow, we've had sun, we've had wind, we've had it all, really. Fish, chips and mushy peas, all for $2.20, except not fish because I'm vegan. But yeah, so yeah, we've had it all today, and I just thought, you know, with weather so varied, what better day to stay indoors, really, and make a vlog. Like, I've got much choice but to stay indoors, but you know what I mean. So yeah, this week's reading vlog has been an interesting one because it's sort of, you know, like I always tend to read either inadvertently or on purpose. Don't worry, by the way, I'm sitting on the toilet, but I'm not on the toilet. Well, I am, but not on, you know, that wouldn't be appropriate. Yeah, so thematically, I tend to sort of gravitate towards things, or maybe it's just about finding the comparisons between things that I've been reading and then just sort of noting them after the fact. You know, it could be a retrospective thing, that, but the last couple of books I've read, I noticed all had orange in some way, shape or form as part of either the plot, the title or the theme, which I thought was quite interesting, which is why this vlog is called A Twist of Citrus. And they're kind of all different genres, really. I suppose two of them could be said to be closer to one another than the third. But yeah, they all kind of relate to that colour, and I don't know what it is about orange in particular that's particularly, you know, a publishing go-to at the moment, but there must be something in the water, as it were. So yeah, I noticed that, and I thought, well, that's a good enough thematic link for me to talk about things that I've been reading at the moment. So first up on that score is this, which I'm going to admit I bought for the cover. I know you're not supposed to judge them by their covers, but I absolutely do, and I think most of us probably do as well. You know, it's kind of like the packaging, isn't it, on you know, something that you don't really need. If it looks attractive, you're more likely to buy it. Not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's just a thing. So yeah, the first one is Love Orange, or it could be Love Orange, although there's no comma, by Natasha Randall, which is a quirky little contemporary fiction. Well, I say little, it's fairly girthy. That is about, oh, look at that beautiful orange colour, gorgeous. They could have done sprayed edges, actually, that would have been really, really nice. Oop, I hope that's not cut the stream. It's just telling me I've got low battery. So what else is new? This is the debut novel by Natasha Randall, and from the blurb, it exposes the seam of secrets within an American family from beneath the plastic surfaces of their new smart home. So yeah, this is about a sort of 2.4 children kind of family parents and 2 boys, and they live in this home that's kind of responsive to them. So it's almost like the house is alive, sort of like Alexa, Siri kind of thing, but it's in the walls, so you can tell it to do things like program it and so on and so forth. Which the wife of the family, and the mother, I should say, who's called Jenny, she finds increasingly quite hard to deal with. I think she feels in some ways either usurped by it or controlled by the house itself. Sort of speaks to kind of, themes around, I guess, maybe the increasing surveillance of society, or the, increased reliance on technology and so on and so forth. Anyway, she starts writing to this prisoner as sort of, you can do these sort of letter writing campaigns, can't you, to someone who's in jail. And oops, battery again. Do these things to people that are in jail. And in fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to pause there, and I am going to plug you in, otherwise you'll die on me. And we're back. You probably won't have noticed any difference, but we have in fact paused and moved. I've had to shift location so I can plug you in, because if I'm honest, the phone I use for recording these vlogs is on its way out. So hey ho, there we go. So unfortunately, you won't be able to appear at my assistant anymore while we speak, and won't that be a shame? Yeah, so she starts writing to this prisoner, and they kind of strike up a sort of friendship. It's a little bit fraught, a little bit fractious in places, but yeah, they're talking, and he has a wife, or a partner, I should say, who is in prison as well. And he asks Jenny to be the kind of go-between between them, and he gives her these envelopes, and one thing leads to another, and basically she ends up kind of licking the sort of glue on the envelope, and very quickly comes to realize that there is a substance in the gum or glue on the envelope, and it induces something in her, and she sort of has to try and figure out what it is, because she becomes quite quickly addicted to it, and it leads her to become, the sort of unwitting middle person, as it were, between the prisoner John and his wife. But at the same time, she's kind of facing the cracks in her own marriage, her children, one of whom has sort of created this subterranean kind of den in the bottom of the house, and there's stuff in there about religion and faith, and like the local priest kind of gets involved as well somewhere along the line. So it's really quite multifaceted, and not really what I was expecting, but actually a lot more layered, I suppose, in some ways. I think it's because you'd be forgiven for thinking that there's like quite a heavy reliance on sci-fi or, robotic technological tropes in this book, and there really isn't. It's a very human story about, I guess, being alive today, really, and maybe it is a contemporary American novel. I'm wondering if it's sort of reflecting what the sort of postmodern American dream, as it were, that sort of over-reliance on tech and stimulants, both, drug-based stimulants and other life stimulants. Coffee is a big theme in this as well, sort of, caffeine and things like that, fast cars, blah, 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 and all this business. And how, the kind of contemporary issues that we grapple with rub up against that idealism that people have been told that they should aspire to. What does that really look like on a somatic level when you have it? And is there an element of, being really careful what you wish for, because actually in the gaining of something, many things are lost. So that's really, really, really interesting. If that's something that you think is worth pondering, I do personally, obviously, and reflecting on, this book deals with it in quite a non-prescriptive and what would be the word? Non sort of lectury way. It's just very woven into the plot, as it were. There's stuff in here as well about masculinity and social media and so on and so forth, but again, not hammered like a sort of overbearing hammerer. No. No, it's what I mean to say, there's a lightness of touch which is really delightful, and it's a real page turner in many ways, although there's no kind of real moments of peril, as it were. It's more an exploration, I guess, but it's none the worse for that. So yeah, that's Love Orange by Natasha Randall. More details as usual in the description below. And the second one I came across is, I guess I'm kind of cheating a little bit here because this is a type of orange, I suppose. And this is Christine Mangan's Tangerine, which is a great cover. Look at that sort of 50s, 40s, 50s noir-y almost. I know I'm mixing up my periods there. Which is about two women, Alice and Lucy, who used to be roommates. Excuse me. No, I'm fine. They used to be roommates. Set in Tangiers, by the way. Well, Tangiers as it is now, as it was Tangier. And they used to be roommates at this school in America. Anyway, something happened which we're not quite sure about until the sort of conclusion of the novel. And they haven't seen each other for ages. And then Alice has got married and moved to Tangier with her new husband. And then one day, Lucy just shows up out of the blue. And from there, things start to unravel. There's very much evidence of a secret between them, something that went on in the past that is a kind of, obviously, horrific thing that's happened, but we're not privy to that information. We have to sort of puzzle it out from the clues. So we get two narratives. We get Alice's and Lucy's. And it's kind of about how those two narratives rub up against each other and what they reveal about one another as we kind of go backwards and forwards in time. And there's a plot or a coup attempt, as it were, both on a large scale with the actual country, but also on a small scale in the relationship between Alice and Lucy. Now, this was enjoyable, and I don't know if it's because I wasn't maybe in the right frame of mind. I didn't enjoy it as much as I expected to. It kind of says on the front, the Times review says it has elements of the girl on the train meets the talented Mr. Ripley, which yeah, I guess in a kind of way. There's some stuff about identity and falsehood and, you know, sort of pretending to be somebody else. That's not a spoiler. That's happens quite early on, and the kind of teasing out of the secret. But I don't know. I don't feel like it has that kind of shock twist at the end that really makes you go, "Whoa! Did not see that coming." But then again, in all fairness to Christine Mangan, maybe that's not the point of the novel. You know, things don't have to conform to rules to be enjoyable reads, and the story is interesting enough to keep you on board. I'm not sure that to me the characters in and of themselves were completely compelling. I feel like in places we don't really get total motivations for things. I noticed that a lot in thrillers, actually, with some exceptions, obviously, that it's the plot line kind of overtakes the character, which is absolutely cool, but it does mean that it's more difficult to kind of root for your protagonist, particularly when your viewpoint is split between sort of an antagonist and a protagonist, and you're never quite sure which is which. So it's a clever piece of juggling in that respect, but I'm not sure that I was enough enamored of either of them to really make it matter, you know, at the end, as we come to the denouement, as it were. So it's a great first novel. The location is beautifully evoked. There is some intrigue in the double cross at the end. It's not an unguessable one, I don't think, because I think the clues are dropped halfway through, which is why I'm surprised it isn't more of a character study in some respects, because I would have thought that if the clues were dropped that early for you to come to a conclusion about what happened, then that would have been to compensate. The characterization would have been there to compensate, but no. But that's okay. It's still a very enjoyable read, particularly if you like, reading about Morocco, you like that kind of period of history, of recent contemporary history, I should say. And the ending is quite chilling, I think. Not unforeseen, but still chilling in its execution, which I do think, she should get massive plus points for that, because, when I finished it, I was like, yeah, nice. Not quite what I expected, but near enough. So, yeah, if you're looking for something, it's not demanding, and that's not an insult. Just something to sort of while away the hours with, then, you can get through this fairly quickly. And still have a good old time, as it were. So, yeah, that's Tangerine. And the third one, which I guess, when I said earlier that two of them could kind of be classified as thrillers, although, again, I'm going to break what I just said, because I don't really think it is a thriller per se. This is Bitter Orange by Claire Fuller, and this is not a debut novel. The other two were. Claire Fuller has apparently written quite a few. Yeah, quite a few. And this is, well, some of the blurbs say that, well, it's actually blurred by Paula Hawkins, who wrote Girl on the Train, actually, which is interesting. And I have also seen it compared to Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which I actually don't think is true. I can see why they did it, because it's set in a big house at a very specific time, in the same way that, Rebecca has like Manderley. But I don't think it's quite that. So this one kind of goes back in time and forward in time as well. So in the present day, there's one called Frances Jellicoe, who's in some kind of institution, be that a hospital, be that whatever, and she's dying. And there's a man who comes to visit her who claims to be a vicar, but she's not convinced. And he wants to know what happened many years ago in the summer of 1969 in this dilapidated country house where she meets this couple called Cara and Peter. She's gone there to write a report on the state of the gardens for this business person who's bought the house. And this other couple are there as well to do a sort of survey of the contents of the house, if you will. And she ends up becoming quite fascinated with them and obsessed with their relationship. There's like a Judas hole in the roof that she uses to spy on them. Anyway, one day, one of the couple, Cara, invites her to lunch. This is in the past, and they start to forge a kind of relationship together, and they uncover the secrets of the house. Like, there's some stuff that's been buried for ages, something's clearly gone on there, and they kind of end up leading this weirdly debauched kind of bohemian life where Frances falls in love with Peter, but as she begins to fall in love with Peter, Cara starts to confide in her more about things that happened earlier in their relationship. She kind of probes their relationship history, and Cara tells her lots of things, but then Peter's saying you can't trust Cara because some of the things she says are lies. So there's something about her past in Ireland and a child that she's said to have had, and how that child came to no longer be with them. And it's kind of like they're troweling their way into a relationship between the three of them. And as they, every sort of trowelful they dig up, beautiful English this, isn't it? Every sort of trowelful they dig up kind of reveals more intrigue and mystery. And, this one really leads up to much more so than the previous book I was discussing, as kind of shock ending. Not a shock as in like, oh my God, but like a, oh, kind of shock, where you sort of finally put all the threads together and everything starts to make sense. So there's a beautiful evocation of space in here, and also a very nuanced character. I'll tell you who Frances reminded me a lot of, actually. She reminded me a lot of the lead character in the very first book I ever talked about on this channel, in Anita Bruckner's Look at Me. Very first video on this channel. You can find it in my videos. It had very much echoes of that, and a kind of sort of flawed, unusual characterization, and quite, I guess, quirky, but not like fun quirky, like odd quirky. There's some beautiful stuff in here about the nature of truth and perception, you know, versus evidence and actuality and so on and so forth, and a really good smattering of as you know, I love the sort of rubbing up of the past against the present, and the friction that's caused by that. And these characters are all very vividly painted. Francis in particular is a fascinating character, but then again, as is Cara. And you know, they sort of form quite an interesting ensemble, as it were. So, you know, I think this one is well worth a read. And if you are a thriller fan, although I don't think it's a traditional thriller in that sense, you will enjoy this. It's kind of literary thriller, I suppose, but with elements of the murder mystery and also a little tinge of the fantastical. So that's Bitter Orange. So there we go, my darlings. They are my citrusy books for this reading vlog. I hope you found something in there to interest you and or, you know, whet your appetite, as it were. So that is all for today. I do apologise for the sort of mix-up at the start of the video where I had to keep pausing and so on and so forth. My apologies for that, but I work with the tech that I've got. So put your library card somewhere safe now, possibly in your back pocket, a la Asda. And do sound off in the comments about what you thought about any of the books I've mentioned. Maybe you've read them, maybe you're interested in them, maybe you think, oh no, I don't like the sound of that at all. And as usual, keep me updated with what you're reading. And if you haven't yet, get your votes in for the first meeting of our digital book club, which is coming very, very soon. Okay, my lovelies, you take all the best care of yourself in the world, and I will see you in the next video. Much love. Mwah. Oh.